Welcome to the deep dive. You send us the sources, we dive in, and, well, we try to distill what really matters without you getting lost in the weeds.
Exactly. Efficient knowledge, engaging content. That's the aim.
And today, we're tackling David Eddings' King of the Murgos. We've got the prologue and a selection of chapters you've provided.
Right. So our mission today is really to explore the beginnings of this quest.
Yeah.
We've got the abduction of Belgarion's son, Geran, by this figure Zandramas. That's the catalyst.
Yeah, the absolute core conflict kicking things off. So we'll look at, how the quest starts, the initial challenges, maybe some surprising alliances, betrayals, the whole early setup.
Precisely. Let's get into it.
Okay, so the prologue. It starts with this creation myth, Alder choosing study over, well, ruling like the other gods. That feels significant right away, doesn't it? Establishes a different kind of power.
It really does. Alder's choice, it kind of sets a precedent. Power through understanding, maybe
Yeah.
a more hands-off approach. It definitely shapes the nature of the orb and, everyone connected to it.
And then, bang, we zoom right into Belgarath's personal history, the loss of his wife, Peledra, the birth of the twins, Beldar and Mulgara. Polgara, marked as a sorceress, stays with him.
While Beldarin goes to Riva Iron Grip. Yeah, it's a lot of backstory packed in very quickly.
But it lays the groundwork, right? What's the effect of doing it so fast?
Well, Eddings is basically putting all the key pieces on the board. You get the important bloodlines, Riza's significance, Belgarath, Polgara, all the linchpins of the West.
So you have the context for what happens next.
Exactly. And that personal tragedy for Belgarath, it adds depth right from the start. You understand his motivations, his long view.
Then there's the attack on King Goric and Riva. Treacherous stuff. But a child survives, hidden away by Belgarath and Polgara.
And that immediately raises the stakes. It shows how vulnerable that riven line is, the one connected to the orb. It's this recurring danger.
And it shows Belgarath and Polgara acting behind the scenes, safeguarding things. Which they do. A lot.
Centuries, yes. It hints at their long game, their constant vigilance.
Okay, fast forward. Belgarians and Rion, fighting the bear cult. Things look grim. And then Prince Keldar shows up. Silk.
Right, with Nadrak mercenaries completely turns the tide. It's quite the entrance.
It certainly makes an impression. Tell us about Silk right off the bat.
Well, it shows his knack for, let's say, opportune timing. Maybe not always purely altruistic timing.
Ha! Good point.
His arrival helps, definitely. But you immediately get the sense he's got his own agenda. Adds that layer of unpredictability, moral ambiguity, maybe.
Always with Silk. So in Rion, they capture this guy, Ulfgar. But he's not the kidnapper. He's actually Harakin, a Malorian Grolem.
Yeah, the whole bear cult thing, a complete fabrication, a smokescreen.
So Zandramas set this up. How deep does that misdirection go?
That's what's fascinating. The cultists themselves, they believed it. They weren't just lying. They were convinced, which made the initial investigation, well, a dead end.
Wow. That shows Zandramas' level of planning. Very sophisticated.
Meticulous. And it highlights how hard it is for Garion and the others to figure out what's real and what's, carefully crafted deception.
And then the real bombshell. Zandramas is the kidnapper. She's taking baby Geran to this place from the Mistorn Codex, but she's opposed by Irvon, another powerful figure, who actually sent an assassin to kill the baby.
Right. Suddenly, it's not one enemy. It's two powerful, dark forces pulling in different directions, both centered on this one infant.
That ramps up the stakes immediately. How does that shape the quest right at the start?
It means they're not just chasing Zandramas. They're caught in the crossfire, potentially. It adds layers of threat, urgency, complexity, right from page 1 almost.
Okay, so they start heading south from Rion. And Nedra, she's just devastated, understandably. Her grief feels very real, grounding all the high fantasy stuff.
It absolutely does. Eddings doesn't shy away from the human cost. Her pain makes the quest personal, relatable. It's not just about prophecies, it's about getting her baby back.
And Polgara steps in her own way. Subtle comfort, using that Dryznian secret language, creating routines for Sinedra.
Even in crisis, she's providing that quiet strength. Shows the empathy beneath that sometimes imposing exterior.
Resourceful, too, with the language.
Definitely. It shows her intricate connections, her deep care. Powerful, yes, but also compassionate, even if she doesn't always show it openly.
They reach the Ulgo Caves, and that greeting for Belgarath from the century, Belgarath. Lyn Hawk. Just 3 words, but they say so much.
They really do. It speaks volumes about Belgarath's age, his history, the relationships he's built over, well, millennia. It signifies deep trust, instant recognition, crucial for what comes next.
And then Sinedra's reunion with the Holy Gorm, so emotional. When she tells him about the abduction, you see Garion's protective side just flare up.
That's a turning point for Garion, I think. Seeing Sinedra's pain firsthand, it cements his resolve. He's not just a farm boy anymore. He's a father, a husband, driven by this incredibly personal mission.
Silk then lays out the whole story about the bear cult misinformation. And Belgarath clarifies, no, they weren't lying. They believed it.
Which circles back to that theme of manipulation, right?
Yeah.
And the power of belief itself, even if it's based on a lie. It makes uncovering the actual truth that much harder.
Yeah, even the bad guys can be victims of a bigger deception.
Precisely.
Now, the Sardion, its role in Zandramas' plan, it's still pretty murky at this point. Why keep that so vague?
Classic Eddings.
Mm-hmm.
Creates suspense, right? Drives the plot. Zandramas wants it, so Garion needs to stop her. But what it is, why it's so important, that's the hook. Keeps you reading.
Makes sense. Then UL shows up, the god of the Olgos, assigns Garion this huge task, blocks Zandramas from getting the Sardion, and gives that crucial bit of reassurance.
He's well, Belgarion.
Yeah.
About the baby.
Yeah. Huge moment. What's the impact of that? Divine intervention right there.
It provides direction, confirms Garion's central role, and crucially, it eases their immediate panic about Garion, allows them to focus, gives them renewed purpose, even amidst the danger.
And this seems to trigger something in Garion, an internal shift. He starts thinking about how victory comes from just refusing to yield to evil.
And he has this insight that even figures like Torak and now Zandramas, they have their own fear, a twisted longing for light, maybe?
That's pretty nuanced for fantasy, isn't it? Evil isn't just pure evil.
It's definitely more complex here. It suggests darkness isn't monolithic. There's fear, maybe regret, distortion. It adds depth to Garion's understanding and hints that victory might involve more than just fighting.
And Erend, or Ariand, as we'll know him, he seems to just get what Garion's thinking. There's this quiet understanding. Garion asks the orb for light. It feels important, that connection.
It does. It hints at Ariand's uniqueness, his potential purpose. That intuitive link suggests something beyond normal friendship. Foreshadowing, definitely.
And then there's that little detail, almost thrown away, Polgara worrying about Ariand falling into rivers again.
Little details like that in Eddings. They usually mean something. It suggests some past trauma, maybe, or a vulnerability connected to water. Could be important later.
Okay, so the meeting at Prolgu wraps up. Belgarath is impatient. Snedra is still worried sick, naturally. And UL drops that cryptic line about a big change coming for Ariand.
More foreshadowing about Ariand. Keeps the mystery going. Suggests his part in this story is far from over, far from simple. Piques your curiosity.
Belgarath figures the meeting with UL was the point of stopping there. So onward to Erendia via the Ulgo Caves, we get the Gorm's blessing and Silk's skepticism.
Wouldn't be Silk without the skepticism.
And Belgarath rolling his eyes at him. Some things never change. That dynamic adds some lightness, though.
It does. You need those moments. Silk's cynicism grounds the magic a bit, and Belgarath's reactions are just, well, they're funny. Keeps it from getting too grim.
As they travel, Garion tries to get Ariand talking about his past. Just fragments, though. A city, strangers taking him in, and that weird sympathy for Zedar.
Very unusual backstory, or lack of one almost. It makes Ariand even more enigmatic. Displaced, strange encounters, empathy for a villain, and raises loads of questions about who he really is.
And then bam, dragon. Just appears out of nowhere.
Huge. Dangerous. Belgarath's reaction soared out. Cover the orb tells you everything. Even if it's clumsy, bad eyesight, it's still a dragon.
What does that encounter signify? Just random danger?
It injects this primal threat, a creature of myth, immense power, reminds them the world is full of ancient dangers, tests their reaction time, their courage, ups the ante.
Polgara zaps Ariand to safety instantly, but then she's shaken. Durnik comforts her. We don't often see her that vulnerable.
It humanizes her, doesn't it? Shows her deep affection for Ariand, that even she isn't immune to fear for those she cares about. And Durnik just being there, solid. Shows the strength of their bonds.
Garion, meanwhile, kind of enjoyed the fight, links it to something from his childhood. Durnik's reaction is perfect. Bravery or insanity.
Yeah, Garion's reaction telling. Maybe some latent power waking up, or just his core nature. Hints at something deeper, something he's still discovering about himself. Durnik's just like, what just happened?
Relatable. So they press on into Erendia. Nedra feels the history there, the hatred and grief, and the descriptions. Stark contrast. Rich membrate castles, poor villages, miserable serfs.
Erendia really highlights the social injustice, this deep divide. It adds this layer of Social commentary. What kind of world are they actually fighting for?
They get near Tol Haneth, there's a big fair. Silk's eyes light up, obviously, opportunities. But Belgarath spots an Angarak merchant asking questions about them.
Alarm bells. Any Angarek interest, given the history with Meloria, is suspicious. Surveillance, a direct threat, it sets a tense mood immediately.
Delvor, a merchant, offers shelter. They plan to go in quietly, which, knowing this group,
Never quite works out, does it? They just attract trouble. Their very nature, magic, prophecy, royalty makes them stick out. Plus, their quest puts them right in the path of powerful people. Hard to stay hidden.
inside Delvor's pavilion, very luxurious refation. Aunt Paul notices something about that Angarak merchant's eyes, some rare condition. Her knowledge is just encyclopedic.
Isn't it? Beyond magic, she knows medicine, obscure conditions. It shows how observant she is. And that little detail could be a vital clue later. You never know with Eddings.
Silk, meanwhile, is planning a distraction. Lead coins, very Silk.
Resourceful, cunning, bends the rules. That's his approach. Espionage background showing through, get the job done, whatever it takes.
Delvor fills them in on local trouble, surf unrest, sophisticated weapons turning up, more political instability.
Right. Orendia is volatile. That unrest could complicate things for them, definitely. Or maybe offer an opportunity. Adds another layer to the political mess they're walking into.
Then they run into customs, a rude sergeant, a really bitter agent complaining about the fallout from Grand Duke Kador's death, Varana's takeover.
Gives you a real feel for the atmosphere. Resentment, heavy-handed imperial power. The agent's story shows the human cost of all this political maneuvering. Makes the empire feel more real, less monolithic.
Arriving properly in Tol Haneth, Nedra hates the formality, the excessive wealth, especially after seeing the poverty.
Shows her values, doesn't it? Her empathy. She provides that moral compass against the backdrop of Tol-Ndudran decadence.
They meet Emperor Varana, and he's surprisingly funny. Wry humor, even about his own imperial bus not looking right.
He's not your typical emperor stereotype. That humor suggests intelligence, maybe cynicism about his own position, makes him unpredictable. Is he an obstacle? A potential ally? Hard to tell.
Belgarath explains why they're there chasing Zandramas, but Varana claims he's never heard the name.
Which reinforces how Zandramas operates. In the shadows. Even the Emperor doesn't know her name. Shows her reach, her clandestine methods. She's playing a different game.
Then, surprise, Prince Kalden of Drazni arrives. And Lizelle, who we know as Velvet.
More players on the board. Kalden and Silk have history, bit of rivalry, and Velvet's on a secret mission. Things just got more complicated.
Definitely. Draznian spies in the mix. The Emperor hears Kalden's news, looks grim, they leave in a hurry. Serious stuff. Then Silk asks about someone named Bethra.
In Velvet's reply. Just knives. Chilling. Speaks volumes about the ruthlessness of Tol-Ndudran politics. Hints at some brutal backstory there.
And Velvet drops another bombshell. Bethra warned Varana about a Haneth plot against his son, and Bethra was actually Hunter, an Alorn agent, manipulating the Tol-Ndudran succession for years.
Wow. Okay, so the Alorns have been playing a long game in Tol Nedra. That puts the current unrest, the Haneth situation, in a whole new light. It's all connected, part of this massive power struggle.
Belgarath needs a library, finds the scholar who's completely dismissive, until Belgarath casually mentions some obscure solution for Melsine.
And the scholar just bolts. It's funny, but it shows how much knowledge itself is valued, respected. Belgarath's centuries of experience give him that edge.
There's a nice little moment with Jeebers, Barana's aide, sends his best to Polgara, a reminder of their history, these connections.
Those moments are important. They ground the epic stuff in personal relationships, remind you what they're fighting for, who they care about, adds warmth.
But then, back to intrigue. Lord Morin arrives with bad news. The Haneths are being killed off. Quietly, efficiently.
So the fallout from Bethra's exposure is happening. Fast. Increases the sense of danger, the urgency. Tol Haneth is not a safe place to be right now.
The scene shifts, imperial party, candlelight, music, and then Lizelle sings. Stunning voice. And Nedra joins in, unexpectedly. This beautiful, sad duet.
Such a poignant moment. Shows the contrast between the glittering surface and their inner pain. Music lets them express that shared sorrow, that vulnerability, without words. Really powerful scene.
Later, Nedra notices Silk smells. Odd. He's evasive. Garion asks him straight up, were you involved in the Haneth killings?
And Silk's response, well, isn't that interesting? It's so ambiguous, but it strongly implies. Yeah, probably.
Classic Silk. What does that mean, though? His potential involvement?
It just reinforces his moral flexibility, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Willing to do the dirty work, maybe for Drasnia, maybe for his own reasons, complicates his role. Who's he really loyal to?
Velvet gently tells him to take a bath. Then she guides them out of the city. Fog, rain, secret passages, an underground chamber with a barge. Straight out of a spy thriller.
Velvet really knows her way around the hidden parts of Tolhaneth. Shows her skills, her background. She's clearly a very capable operative, essential for their escape.
In that underground place, Garion senses something from the trees. Arion feels sadness. Nedra links it to nature. Velvet notices Nedra's connection to trees.
These little hints about nature, trees, keep popping up. Suggests a deeper magic and interconnectedness in this world. Maybe Nedra has some latent ability, or just deep empathy.
They meet Expel, a dryad. Belgarath bribes her with sweets, much to Polgara's annoyance. A bit of fun amidst the danger.
You need those moments. Keeps it from being relentless grimness. Plus, Belgarath interacting with dryads. It just feels right. Shows his ancient connections, his comfort with the magical world.
Then they meet Saudi, claims he knows where Zandramas is going, why they're following her, offers to help.
But Silk is immediately suspicious, and rightly so.
Why is Saudi risky?
Well, he appears out of nowhere, claims to know everything. His past with Queen Saras, falling from favor, suggests he's out for himself. Could be manipulating them. Very risky ally.
Saudi tells his story. Saras rose to power, helped some Malorian friend. Silk immediately asks, what did the Malorian want?
Good question, because Malori is the enemy. Any Malorian connection likely ties straight back to Zandramas, the war, the whole main conflict. It's a crucial link.
Polgara decides she needs to go to Salmisra's palace in Cherik. Takes Garion and Ishis, Saudi's man. She suspects Salmisra helped Zandramas.
Proactive Polgara. Salmisra, the Serpent Queen. She's powerful, influential in the south, and has history with Belgarath. If anyone knows how Zandramas got off the Isle of the Winds or who helped her, it's likely Salmisra.
They sneak into the palace, and the encounter with Salmisra. Ugh, that creepy invitation for Garion to kiss her. And he almost does.
Shows our power, doesn't it? That lingering influence, that manipulative magic, even on Garion, underscores how dangerous she is.
Polgara snaps him out of it. Then the interrogation starts. Cold, sharp questions. Salmisra denies everything.
But Ishis uses his methods on Salmisra's aid and gets the truth. Salmisra did arrange contact with a Malorian, Naradas, altered documents, the whole thing.
Betrayal exposed. What does that tell us about the South?
It's a snake pit, basically.
Yeah.
Shifting loyalties, hidden deals. Salmisra working with Malorians shows how far their influence reaches. It's a complex mess Garion's group is wading through.
They make a quick escape. Silk, morbidly curious about the sounds from the palace.
Typical Silk. Professional interest, even in murder.
They regroup. Saudi pays Ishis. Silk seems interested in hiring Isis himself, forming these uneasy alliances.
Very fluid. Reflects the world they're in. Everyone has an angle. Trust is rare. They have to constantly reevaluate who's with them, who's against them.
Next up, Keithon Murgos. Yeah. Enemy territory. They don Nisan slaver robes as disguises. Horrible things, apparently.
And Belgarath warns about the orb reacting to Angarax. Adds another layer of risk. The orb is pure good. Angarax follow the dark god. Could flare up, give them away.
Sade advises against crossing the great desert of Araga. Too dangerous. Dagashi nomads, no water.
His local knowledge is proving vital again. Saves them from a potentially fatal mistake. They need someone who knows the territory.
Instead, they head through mountains and forests. Then they witness this brutal Murgo cavalry ambush on Malorian supply wagons, just for the water.
And Silk figures it out immediately. But the Murgos don't just take the water, they waste it. Pour it onto the sand. Looks like blood.
Chilling image. What does that show about the conflict there?
Just how harsh, how ruthless it is. Desperation, cruelty, wasting a vital resource like water. It's brutal. Shows the Murgo mindset.
Their journey leads them into the mountains. They meet Jaharb, an assassin, and his associate Tajak. Jaharb mentions needing slaves for their disguise.
And Seti claims he's short on cash, plans to capture runaways. But then Jaharb just opens a chest, full of bright red gold.
So someone's funding this, a bigger network.
Seems likely. Jaharb, the gold, suggests a well-resourced operation. Zandramas, Malorians, other players. Unclear, but they're not just stumbling into things randomly.
Garion wants to rush to Verkat, but Belgarath reveals a shortcut, a ship waiting for them. Saves months.
Big relief. They start heading south. Garion feels the orb pulling east, though, towards Zandramas. The chase is definitely heating up.
That orb guidance is crucial, isn't it? A magical compass.
Absolutely. Tells them exactly where she is, where to go. Essential when time is critical.
Velvet reacts to this awful smell. Silk recognizes it. Grolem practices.
Belgarath explains, Grolem's rule by terror, even senseless terror, just to keep people afraid.
Disturbing insight into their methods. How does knowing that help?
Well, it means you can't always expect rational behavior, but maybe you can predict their cruelty, exploit their reliance on fear. It certainly tells you how dangerous this place is.
They see a Grolem delivering a message to this woman, Shabbat, high-ranking priestess, beautiful but scarred. Here's the message. Jaharb wants to go as Zandramas, protect the child.
And Shabbat doesn't believe it. Threatens Sadi, who delivered the message.
Yeah.
Shows the suspicion, the rigid hierarchy within the Grolem cult.
Internal power struggles, potential weaknesses.
Could be. If they're busy watching each other, maybe they're not watching outsiders as closely. Creates openings, perhaps.
Belgarath finds a book, reads this chilling prophecy. Dark god rising, war, journey to the place which is no more, a sacrifice, an Angrak king, triumph over the child of light.
Lays out the stakes, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Terrifyingly. The sacrifice part, clearly pointing at Geran. The dark god winning. Catastrophic.
Yeah.
And that name, place which is no more, sounds utterly final.
And right then, Silk bursts in. Ariand is gone, missing.
Terrible timing. Right after that prophecy. Is Ariand the sacrifice? Did Zandramas take him? Huge concern, massive urgency now.
Garion feels something wrong inside a temple. Uses his will, finds Ariand. There's a priest, purple hood, sacrificial knife.
Confirms the worst fears. Ariand is in immediate danger, and Garion sensing him like that.
Yeah.
What does that mean about their connection?
Seems psychic, almost. A deep bond.
Definitely more than friendship, some kind of magical link developing.
Then Garion hears a voice in his head. Done. The priest sees Ariand, orders him captured for Shabbat. So some ritual was completed.
Yeah, involving Ariand, preparing him for something. Linked to the prophecy. Delivering him to Shabbat confirms he's central to Zandramas' plan now. Not good.
Temple alarms go off. Garion finds the others. Ariand's being taken to Shabbat. Belgarath is furious, wants to warn Polgara, prepare to fight.
Situation critical. They need to regroup, find Polgara, rescue Ariand. And now the whole temple knows they're there. Time is running out.
They confront Shabbat and the hierarch, Agachak. Polgara looks shaken. Agachak clearly dominates Shabbat. Then he turns on Sadi, asks about sorcery.
Fascinating power play. Agachak seems completely in control. His focus on Sadi sees him as a threat, or just standard Grolem paranoia about outsiders.
Shabbat demands punishment for desecration. King Urgot gets involved, nervously. Agachak shuts Shabbat down. Urgot asks Sadi about peddling drugs.
Which Sadi denies. Then Agachak's sarcasm, and this other Grolem, Sorchak, produces an earthenware bottle. Adds to the weirdness.
Yeah.
What's in the bottle?
Sadie plays it cool, says it's just a precaution. His servant gets excited. Talks soothingly to the snake inside. Zith.
Snake, okay.
But Agachak laughs. Knows Shabbat and Sorchak's secrets. Casually asks if they ever managed to raise a demon. Terrifies Shabbat.
Whoa. Okay, Agachak is seriously creepy. Knows everything, uses it cruelly, shows the real darkness at the top of the Grolem hierarchy. And demon raising confirms the kind of magic they mess with.
Agachak agrees with Urgot don't disrupt the war effort. Suggests Sadi and company stay at the Drojan Palace for their safety. From Shabbat, offers protection.
Which is obviously a threat, right? Keep them close, keep them watched. Classic manipulation. They're basically prisoners.
Urgot orders quarters prepared, unusually polite, leads them to his throne room, which is garish, red, gold, jewels over the top. But Urgot makes jokes about it, leaky roof.
That contrast again. Opulent setting. But the king is self-deprecating, almost cynical about it. Makes Urgot more complex than just the Murgo king.
Then Oskatat arrives. Grim, scarred seneschal. Urgot's mother, Lady Tamazin, warns Sadi about him. Belgarath tells Silk to lie low. Durnik's surprised Urgot has a sense of humor.
Lots of tension introduced there. Urgot versus Oskatat. Lady Tamazin's influence. Sets up potential conflicts within the court. Could work for them or against them.
Polgara and Garion have a silent chat about Nedra. Garion comforts her. The Queen Mother watches. Quiet moments amidst the politics.
Keeps it human. Reminds us of the personal stakes, the family bonds driving them. Important emotional anchor.
Silk admits, yeah, he killed Dorak Urgus. Accidentally, he claims. Tamazin calls Dorak a monster anyway. Silk jokes about civic duty.
Classic Silk. Morally gray, flippant about killing royalty. Operates by his own rules. Expediency over ethics.
Urgot summons them again. Bored, probably. Eating breakfast casually. His mother asks if he slept well. More morbid humor from Urgot. Garion feels this weird sympathy for him.
Despite hating Murgos in general. It's interesting. Shows Garion's growing maturity, maybe. Seeing the individual beyond the label, even enemies can be flawed, complex people, challenges his prejudice.
Garion suggests a strategy. Reinforce Rakikthaka by sea, faster than marching overland. Urget refuses. Tradition.
But Lady Tamizin just tells him, do it. Abrupt command, and he folds.
Wow. So she really pulls the strings.
Clearly, the real power behind the throne suggests Murgo politics are definitely not straightforward.
Seti worries about reaching Rakkathaka if it's besieged. Urget tries ordering General Craddock about the ships, but he's hesitant. Lady Tamizin steps in again, forceful. Urget pretends to be mad like his ancestors to get compliance.
Clumsy, but it works. Shows Urget's insecurity, his reliance on his mother, and these theatrical tactics, not exactly inspiring leadership.
Oscatat confronts Silk again, wants him punished for killing Dorak. Tense moment. Durnik and Toth block Oscatat. Lady Tamizin suggests letting them go later. Urget dismisses the Dorak issue, didn't like him anyway.
Precarious situation. Oscatat clearly isn't letting the Silk thing go. That resentment could cause problems down the line, foreshadowing trouble.
Then the negotiation. Silk versus Urget. Over the price for carrying an alliance proposal to Belgarion, it's described as amazing haggling.
Two masters at work, both sharp, cunning, opportunistic, mirror images almost. Silk uses his connection to the Riven King as leverage. Smart.
Urget offers partial payment now, the rest if Belgarion agrees to the alliance. Silk protests unfair. Depends on a third party.
Highlights the distrust, doesn't it? Silk knows Urget might renege, needs a firmer deal. Tricky negotiating with someone you can't fully trust.
Silk lays out the potential costs if he helps Urget and gets declared an outlaw back west. Very dramatic. Rejects Urget's offer of protection in Kuthal Murgos.
Smart move. Shows Silk's thinking ahead, calculating risks, deeply distrustful of Murgo promises, survival instincts kicking in.
Belgarath finally cuts Silk off. They need to go. But Urget gets suspicious, stops them, senses something's up. Lady Tamizin tells him to trust his gut. Then Arian pipes up.
She can't tell you. Whoa, okay. Arian intervening again, cryptically. Suggests he knows something about Lady Tamizin, some secret she's hiding. Huge suspense builds right there.
Velvet jumps in, pointed questions to Lady Tamizin about knowing Silk's father, the timing. Leads to the massive reveal. Urget and Silk look alike, negotiate alike. They're brothers.
Unbelievable. Velvet just puts it together. Suggests Silk hug his brother. What are the implications of that?
Changes everything. A personal link between the West and Kruthal Murgos. Potential alliance just got way more complicated, and maybe more possible. Tamizin accepts her fate, calls for the executioner, but Oscatat refuses. Urget tells her to sit down, stop the histrionics. Silk is stunned. Lizelle jokes about hiring Urget. Belgarath points out the danger if Urget's subjects find out he's not pure Murgo. Urget tells him to be quiet. Sadi offers discretion. Oscatat admits he knew all along.
Chaos, secrets spilling out, loyalty shifting, defiance. Oscatat's loyalty to Tamizin, despite the law, is huge. Urget's reaction, stunned but pragmatic. It shows the Murgo court is built on secrets, hidden connections, and Urget's position is incredibly fragile.
So they finally leave, head for the ship. Black, squat thing. Silk doesn't trust it. Argument with the captain about the horses. Captain's contemptuous of Urget.
Silk encourages Urget. Use your authority, and Urget does. Orders the captain, gets obeyed, finds he actually likes it. A small step for Urget.
Maybe. But then, drums. Black-robed Grolums marching towards them, steel masks, ominous.
Just when they thought they were clear, the Grolums caught up, suggest Agachak wasn't just going to let them walk away.
It's Hurricane, the Grom they captured way back in Rion. He points at Garion. Belgarion!
Oh no. Sadi denies it vehemently, but Hurricane insists, I am of the Dagashi. We are trained observers.
Urget notices Hurricane doesn't have Murgo scars, questions his Dagashi claim. Tense standoff.
Garion's identity exposed. That's disastrous.
Puts a massive target on his back, endangers everyone. Their whole disguise is blown.
Hurricane pulls a knife, threatens Garion. Garion reacts. Terrifyingly calm fury. Warns him. Urget backs down fast. Asks Garion, are you Belgarion? Then rushes to Chabat, tells her to capture the imposter, and jumps on the ship. What? Urget's reaction is pure self-preservation. Throws Garion under the bus to save himself, points Chabat at them, then runs. Cowardly, but maybe clever in a desperate way.
Polgara mocks Chabat, challenges her to stop the ship. Chabat accepts, tries, and fails. Flounders in the water. Polgara rubs it in. Can't even do simple magic. How will you control a demon?
Humiliating for Chabat. Shows her power is broken, maybe by Polgara's presence or the failed ritual. Undermines her completely.
Urget is baffled. Silk just says something very unpleasant, Then Shabbat shrieks, the harbor explodes, steam, fire, and this huge, hideous demon rises up.
She actually did it, summoned a demon out of sheer desperation and rage, complete escalation.
Shabbat orders it to kill Polgara.
But then, Older's voice answers Polgara's call. They link hands, glowing blue light, confront the demon.
Polgara speaks the words, abjuration, sends the demon back to hell and tells it to take Shabbat with it.
And boom, thunderclap, fireball, demon gone, Shabbat gone. Just like that. Divine intervention, decisive and final.
What are the consequences of that?
Immediate. Shabbat's dead. Threat removed. Long term. Everyone saw it. Divine power right there. Shifts the balance. Raises the stakes even higher.
Sailing away, Urgot is morose. Questions Polgara's constant power displays. Silk asks about growing up in Rakgoska. Urgot tells grim stories about his father, Tor Urgus, mad rituals, harsh life.
Gives us more insight into Urgot. Why he's so cynical, insecure, makes him more understandable, if not likable, a product of a brutal upbringing.
Rainy morning. Polgara is quiet. Durnik and Tolth are watching the sea, arguing about creature sizes. Durnik starts fishing, a moment of strange normalcy.
Needed after the demon fight. Allows them and us to catch our breath. Shows their resilience, finding simple things to do even in chaos.
Urgot complains Garion's pacing is loud. Garion jokes back, explains Silk's nickname from Drasnian intelligence. Lightens the mood a bit.
Builds that odd camaraderie again. They're stuck together, might as well find some humor in it.
Urgot worries about finding loyal people back home. Belgarion tells him bluntly, you need to assert yourself. Urgot finds that inconsistent. Garion asks Polgara to talk to Urgot.
Which she translates as bully him.
Yeah.
And agrees to, after tea. Different leadership styles right there. Garion nudging, Polgara more direct. Urgot still struggling.
Polgara talks to the captain. Just a brief chat, but afterwards the captain seems to have new plans, spends all morning in the crow's nest.
Polgara's subtle influence again. Not always fireballs, sometimes just persuasion. Strategic thinking, quiet leadership. Very effective.
Silk jokes with Durnik about catching a sea monster. Durnik's response, total faith in Polgara, she can handle anything.
Shows the trust, doesn't it? That absolute confidence in her is vital for the group's cohesion, their ability to face danger.
Bad weather clears. Captain looks worried. Ships on the horizon, half a dozen.
Urgot's immediate fear. Malorians. The pursuit isn't over. Threat closing in again.
Tense meeting. Turns out the Malorian ships passed them in the night, now ahead. Garion takes charge. New course. Furl sails. Use oars. Surprising tactic.
Shows Garion's growth again. Tactical mind, leadership. He understands sailing, wind, currents. Taking initiative.
Captain predicts a gale. Belgarath sees it as good news distract the Malorians. They decide to turn, run for cover. Urgot wonders how Silk knew about a hidden cove.
Silk's network. Always has information, contacts. Invaluable for finding safe havens, escape routes.
Garion navigates them through rocks into the Geran Sea, more skilled piloting.
He's really stepping up. Using knowledge maybe he didn't even know he had. Changing dynamics in the group. Less reliant solely on Belgarath and Polgara.
Disaster. Ship hits a reef, runs aground. Food packs are inaccessible. Priority. Horses. Durnik warns that the ship might break up.
Huge setback. Stranded, potentially losing supplies, horses. Adds immediate survival pressure on top of everything else.
Belgarath makes the call. Horses first, salvage later. But the Murgos sailors object. Want the horses, maybe supplies. Led by some scarred guy, standoff.
Tension snaps. Scarred Murgo draws a sword. Toth flicks his wrist. Throws a pry bar. Breaks a guy's arm. Conflict over.
And Polgara laughs, joyfully. Surprising reaction.
Maybe just the sheer efficiency of it. Problem solved. Decisively. Pragmatic Polgara again. Or maybe just relief the standoff didn't turn into a bloodbath. Her enigmatic reply to Silk, I haven't got the faintest idea, keeps you guessing. Shared laughter breaks the tension.
They seek shelter. Rain-swept headland. Arion looks like he recognizes it. Leads them to a hidden watchtower. Belgarath. Urge it. They didn't know it was there.
More mystery around Arion. How does he know this place? Connection to the past. Memories returning. Deepens his enigma.
Hidden entrance. Obscured by grass. Inside. Dark. Musty. And they realize torches were lost on the ship. Stuck in the dark.
Increases their vulnerability. Unknown place, no light. Uneasy feeling. What dangers might be hidden there?
Polgara makes a simple meal. Gruel. Porridge. Rain stops. Wind still bad. Garion sees the wreck. The bodies washed ashore. Grim reminder.
Stark cost of their journey. Seeing the dead sailors. Brings home the danger, the consequences. Somber moment.
Silk goes scouting for info. Tries talking to a local Sandarian, but the guy freaks out at Silk's Nison robe, thinks he's a slaver.
Shows the local prejudice, the bad reputation Nysons have. They need to be careful about appearances, assumptions people make.
Durnik spots Sati searching frantically. His snake, Zith, is missing. Belgarath says don't tell Silk. He'll panic.
Okay, so Zith is important, not just a pet. Missing snake, mysterious bottle. Adds another thread of worry. What's Zith's significance?
Garion rides off alone, finds Malorian deserters, coldly declares, I am justice, kills one, takes their horses, checks the other bodies are dead. Methodical.
Oh, that's dark. Garion taking justice into his own hands. Ruthless. A definite shift in his character, hardened by everything he's been through.
Returns with the horses. Silk is anxious, asks where he got them. Garion explains tersely, mentions the deserters bragged about raiding a farm. Silk seems uneasy.
Maybe disapproves of Garion's methods. Even Silk has lines. Or just surprised by Garion's cold efficiency. Shows a difference in their moral compasses, maybe.
They enter a gloomy forest. Nedra feels fear, hostility from the trees. The atmosphere affects everyone.
The environment mirrors their mood. The danger. Oppressive. Foreboding. The forest itself feels like an antagonist.
Ambush. Ragged attackers. Garion cuts them down efficiently. They break and run. One aims an arrow at Garion.
Silk takes him out. Thrown dagger. Quick reactions.
And Velvet uses a garrote on another. Silk congratulates her. She's just calm about it. Routine.
Baffles Silk, doesn't it? Her matter-of-fact deadliness underscores her training, her background. Violence is just part of the job for her.
Durnik watches Sati poisoning the bodies, disgusted. Then a scream from the east. New threat.
Zatati's casual cruelty contrasts sharply with Durnik's decency. Creates that moral tension in the group. And the scream. Uh-oh.
Silk wants to check it out. Toth stops him. Garion asks Toth directly, is the Ravener real? Toth just nods. Bleak confirmation. Another scream. Closer.
Okay, the Ravener. Monstrous threat confirmed. Immediate, terrifying danger. Raises the stakes yet again.
They see someone fleeing through the trees. Horrible pursuit. Repeated shrieks. Nedra asks what's happening. Polgara confirms, horrified, they're eating him.
It's just gruesome. Visceral horror. Eddings doesn't pull punches here. Really drives home the monstrous nature of the Raveners, the absolute terror.
Belgarath shields them. Magic barrier. Tells Garion, Durnik, watch. A gray Ravener appears, hits the shield. Their magic is the only thing protecting them.
Total reliance on magic now. Against supernatural horrors like this, swords aren't enough. The shield is literally life or death.
Durnik asks if they'll ever give up. Tooth gestures. Durnik interprets. Not while the fog hides the sun. They have to maintain the shield. Garion's exhausted. Then, faint smell of salt. The sea.
A glimmer of hope. But Silk brings them back to Earth. Now all we need is a boat. Pragmatist. Then Toth gestures again, ship waiting. Deliverance.
The contrast is stark. Despair, exhaustion, and sudden hope. Keeps you on edge.
They're on a ship. See this strange alabaster bird and albatross? Nedra looks thoughtful. The bird flies ahead of the prow. Sails are full, but there's no wind. Belgarath asks Toth about getting to Verkat. Definitely magical assistance. The bird, the sails, something is guiding them, helping them. Hints at that larger destiny, divine intervention, maybe.
They reach a village. Garion hears the voice in his head again, calling Sinatra. His sword tugs him south. Finds Zandramas' trail. And realizes she kills her helpers. The voice confirms. Zandramas left a week ago, heading to Meloria.
That psychic link is proving indispensable. Direct intel on Zandramas. Bypasses all the guesswork. Crucial for the pursuit.
Fard, a local, leads villagers into the forest following the trail. Garion and Silk shadow them. Silk crawls closer, notices the followers are blindfolded.
Weird detail. Why blindfolded? Ritual? Control? Hiding something. Adds to Zandrama's mystique, her strange methods.
Belgarath is reading the Book of Ages again. Prophecy about duality, choice between good and evil.
Reinforces the cosmic scale of their fight. It's not just about Geran, it's about the fate of everything, this fundamental conflict.
Belgarath reveals what he figured out about Sardis. Her people believe they choose between the prophecies. They settle the whole thing.
Whoa. Okay, so Sardis isn't just a follower. She's potentially the decider. Makes her role massively important. And suggests the prophecies aren't fixed. Mortal choice matters. Adds huge complexity.
Vard warns soldiers are coming, advises against sailing Malorians everywhere, but Belgarath needs a ship to Meloria.
They won't stop. The urgency to rescue Geran, stop Zandramas, outweighs the risks. Unwavering resolve.
Belgarath senses something else in the woods, wants to confront it. Polgara steps in, talks to a very nice elephant in the shadows. Turns out to be some entity claiming to be a god, threatens her. Then a monstrous illusion appears.
Another bizarre encounter shows the world is full of weird, powerful beings, not just Zandramas. Adds to the unpredictability. Anything could be out there.
The entity, a hermit, flees. Polgara dismisses the illusion, pities his madness. Belgarath just accepts it. They find shelter.
Accumulation of strangeness. Reinforces that this is a world brimming with magic, madness, hidden forces. Keeps them and us off balance.
Durnik scout to campsite. Belgarath estimates distance. Polgara makes supper. Durnik and Toth by a pond. A quiet moment of companionship.
Important pauses. Reinforces their bonds, offers a brief respite from the chase. Human moments.
They overhear Malorian soldiers complaining. Low morale, distrust of officers, useful intel.
Potentially. Discontent in the ranks means weaknesses. Could be exploited. Suggests the Malorian war machine isn't perfectly unified.
Suddenly, Cyrodiil appears, declares she'll prove her words. Toth shows up, carrying a struggling Nedra. Abducted. Betrayal.
What? Nedra captured. By Cyrodiil and Toth. Massive blow. Emotionally devastating, strategically disastrous. Creates a new, urgent objective. Rescue Nedra. Puts them completely on the defensive.
Malorian captain recognizes them. Cyrodiil points them out. The captain arrests Belgarath and Polgara, warns them. Cooperate or their friends suffer. Belgarath accepts. Silk asks about dungeons. They're caught.
And Cyrodiil sided with the Malorians to do it. That's huge. Reviews her alignment, her methods. She's willing to use the dark side to achieve her goals regarding the prophecies. Major setback. Belgarion and Polgara captured. Precarious end to this stage.
And that really wraps up this segment of our deep dive into King of the Murgos. We followed them from the initial shock of the abduction, through perilous landscapes, political nightmares, magical confrontations.
Yeah, you've got a real handle now on those early stages. The constant pursuit, the strange alliances, like with Urgot, the betrayals, the sheer level of danger they're facing from multiple directions.
Yeah, so the question to leave you with, Zandramas is off to Meloria. The prophecy points to this place which is no more. How does Nedra's capture by Cyrodiil, now seemingly allied with Meloria, fit into this? What role will Urgot play? And what about these terrifying creatures like the Ravener and the flashes of divine power? What do they signal about the trials still ahead?
Lots to think about. The board is set, the stakes are incredibly high, and the path forward is anything but clear. Plenty to chew on until you dive deeper yourself.